going to say, so I'm going to go over here and say this to that guy. I'm going to come over here and say this to this guy. I'm going to do this in here just so we can get a good sort of what's going on audio-wise. I'm going to hope that it's sufficiently synced up. Aloha, siblings. In this video, I'm going to do sort of a rambling relaxation, I suppose. I don't normally script the relaxations, but I usually have kind of a thing in mind that's going to be, what I'm going to talk about, whether it's just saying just relax, like don't stress out, just relax, or focus on your breath, or, the body, scan your body and, move your awareness, to progressive, body relaxation type thing. Usually I have some kind of thing like that to think about. And I did have an idea, but it was going to involve some footage that I recorded outside in the world, and it didn't turn out, very attractive. So that video is going to be on hold, so I thought, what can I do? Well, I could do just something kind of lighthearted and silly and have it be like not so guided, well, because like back to the, what I guess it was the first one I said, just relax, right? I mean, how many times have you heard people say, man, just sit down and relax? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you can be commanded to, be suddenly relaxed. Sometimes you can, do calm down to, relatively calm down from, being amped up to, less amped up than that. But to be actually, relaxed, that strikes me as a little bit more difficult to achieve. Just from, somebody saying, just do it, man, just do it. So I guess the variation. So I guess in a sense I'll think about this as an unguided relaxation, right? I don't know, what would I talk about that would make it unguided? I mean, I guess the first thing would be to, get yourself situated, right? I mean, we've all been through these sufficiently, right, that we know that drill. You gotta make sure that your surroundings are conducive to relaxation, that nobody's going to be pestering you. Turn off your phone or hide it somewhere or something, right? Make it, right, make so that you don't get disturbed by people, just poking their noses into your life, well-meaning or not, right? Sometimes you just need to, like, have nobody else around, right? So I get, see to that stuff, right? So I guess that's guided in a sense, right? So the next piece of guidance I would give you is, like, when you're getting ready, shake out your nervous energy, right? Just kind of get rid of that, you could even pause this video and then, go do that for a minute and then come back and be here and, although somebody probably just watched straight through this and there's been no pausing and restarting at all. I hope this lighting isn't too abrasive. I don't know, I find it kind of interesting and kind of hypnotic. But so hopefully you do as well. I got these lights. They're supposed to be for me to be able to do better green screen, so that I could light just better in here. And they're just these LED lights that you can adjust the brightness and all of that kind of thing for to lend themselves to photography stuff. But they were pretty cheap, to be honest. But since they're LED lights, they have these features like where it will cycle through colors, because why not? They're LEDs. You can have them do that stuff. So I get that. Yeah, that's cool. So anyway, me farting around led to just, doesn't that look neat? Yeah, you know what? I think that should be the video replacing the video that was replacing a different video. You just have to stay flexible, man, right? Just go with the flow. So that's what we're attempting here today. Because, well, in a way, that's kind of that video that got replaced was going to be sort of a go with the flow kind of thing. But so instead of me having a nice, cool narrative about going with the flow or, anything else with the visuals and all of that to go along with the theme of going with the flow, I will, in fact, just, via methodology of life, go with the flow, with this particular relaxation. So I guess my strategy for this relaxation is just to babble about nonsense that is, to do with, responding to whatever stimuli happen at various times, to where it's like, that's fine. You just don't have to get all uptight about it. Just sort of, yeah, okay, it's all right. Just relax, right? So trying to be a little bit less like that annoying friend that's shaking their finger at you going, man, just relax, will you? I'm more like the kind of the screwy guy going, man, it's okay, just relax. There's nothing going on here, right? Oopsie daisy. There's minor stuff going on here, right? A little bit up noise, upstairs noise, up noise. What's that? Up noise, I guess, means upstairs noise. So, yeah, well, see, there's another thing I have to try to remember. I don't have to try to remember. I just, when I'm editing these, it's trying to decide, I guess, is where the effort is to how much do I really want to cut the video up? Like, in some spots in the backgammon game, there's noise that I didn't cut out because I felt that there was speech happening that I didn't want to, lose by cutting out the noise. So I don't know, sometimes I don't know if I always make the best decision, but, I make the decision I think I can make best at the moment. And, again, you have to just go with the flow, right? You have to make the decision, do the thing. And then once it's done, don't sweat it. Maybe do a couple of tries if you think it was sloppy or something, if you do decide to cut it out. But I don't know, I'm trying to be, in my own approach to, well, just life in general, but just, include making of these videos, that I think I'd rather get something out that was good and get them out frequently rather than make them be too uptight and put them out very rarely. I think it suits me to be a little sloppy, a little, yeah, let's just go with the flow, man, and hopefully that's conducive to the kind of ASMR I put out, right? It seems that most of you guys kind of seem to, if not understand, or at least amused by, what I say most of the time, even if you don't agree with all of it 100%, you at least get, where I'm coming from most of the time, it seems, which is cool, right? Makes for a decent community, yeah. There's another bit of, added layer to the relaxation thing, right? If you imagine all the other folk who are also either just before you or just after you, or maybe even simultaneously while you're listening to this, I don't have, the gigantic reach of a lot of other ASM artists, but, I give a few people, so there's at least, hundreds, maybe, thousands of people that are, digging the thing. And, but see, you have that in common, right? And it's, you got to figure that there's something you can kind of at least judge about the sort of person that's going to be attracted to my videos, because I think I'm kind of, I don't know if acquired taste is quite the right thing, and niche taste, kind of thing, which, that's fine, that's okay. Weirdo with the long beard, that's perfectly okay, I'm fine with that. But nonetheless, if you two find yourself at home watching the stuff that I make, then, you know what I mean? It seems like that there's a commonality that you might find comfort in, that, oh, the other people that are listening to this seem to like this same sort of thing. Maybe that, I don't know, maybe that similarities are a source of comfort. I don't know. I think I'm getting repetitive there's value in repetition too, right? And I don't know, it just seemed like a fun way of sort of, padding out the length of this video anyway, with something that hopefully is, at least entertaining for you guys. If I can just sort of keep a steady stream of words kind of coming out with, maybe some cohesive connection between them, that's sufficient. So, one thing that comes to my mind was a topic that came up in a recent live stream. Bit of self-promotion. I do live streams on Saturdays. At the time of this recording, they're every other weekend, but that may change to either more or less frequently. Usually Saturdays at 8 p.m. So there's my bit of self-promotion there. Oh, and also I guess I should say, please like the video, right? Please subscribe to the channel and set that alarm bell. That YouTube likes you setting the alarm bell. They always tell us to, set the alarm bell, the notifications thing, right? So that's, something. There you go. Like, comment, subscribe. I think the most important thing is probably to share, but, there you go. What are they doing upstairs? Hopefully it won't be horribly intrusive. Sometimes I think the odd ambient little noises, as long as they're not too oppressively booming, can be kind of amusing lately. So, anyway, but what was I saying? I was talking about live streams and the fact that they exist, and that there was a suggestion made for a topic or a question asked. I don't remember precisely, but I remember that what it was about was language and the difficulties of the use of language, and does it really convey what we're hoping, and this sort of thing, right? See, I think people have wondered about, wrestled with, however you want to think about this little conundrum puzzle, since we've had language, right? I mean, because we all carry around our own definition for what words mean in our heads, right? That might be a memorized definition from, school, or it might be something you've just concocted on your own because of context of having read a word in books or something, and having never heard anybody speak it, but you get an idea for it because you've read it a bunch of times. And I think we all have experienced somebody not understanding what we've said and finding it frustrated to try and explain what you mean. And one of the things that came out of the conversation at the live stream was that I recommended a song. Okay, we'll try that again. So I recommended a band called XTC and their album Black Sea, and the song on that I was recommending is No Language in Our Lungs, just because it seems to be kind of about that topic. Well, that's what I take from the song anyway, that it's addressing that very issue of how, and it's a frustrating thing about language, isn't it? I mean, we can come across it in just misunderstandings and common everyday stuff that we do, just mundane things, and just misunderstanding what somebody meant by, the size of something or the frequency of something, or, something like that. Like how many times a week something's supposed to happen, or, how big the thing was supposed to be that was supposed to happen on that particular day of the week, But then, how much does that get compounded when we're using the same words as we do for these mundane, just day-to-day, whatever they are, things, to also try to convey stuff that's profound or beautiful or, awe-striking, or, and how are we going to get words to contain any of that stuff in a kind of reliable manner? And I don't know the numbers of how this stuff works, but I've seen it in print, and I've seen it referenced in documentaries and things, little video essays here on YouTube and the like, where it talks about what percentage of our communication is strictly, the words being said, right? And so much of it is tone of voice and other aspects of physicality, like your body language, and a lot of times there's, I can't think of really good examples of any of this now that it's coming to my head, but the context, like you will choose different words in different contexts because of, whether it's proper language or maybe it's different subgroups of, who you hang out with, at work is different than who you hang out with when you're not at work, so you have to use a different vocabulary, and different words and different vocabularies are understood to mean different things because of, colleagues, co-workers, etc. They'll have shared experiences enough that you can use those words, in a means of conveying information to each other in what seems to be a reliable manner, right? That's what it comes down to, right? I'll say a thing to you, and you'll hear the thing that I've said, and your brain does a bunch of stuff so that, you go, oh, I understand what Bill just said, and then you respond in a way that, and maybe you say something or you do a different activity or something, right? There's, some sort of result of my having said whatever it was I said causes some behavioral change in you that I can observe or listen to or whatever. And if it's consistent in some way, right? So that it's like, if I asked you to raise your left hand and you actually raise your left hand, right? That's just a simple example, right? But then I can go, oh, I think she understood what I meant for me to ask when I asked her that thing, right? But of course, the more complicated it gets, the more difficult it is to convey any kind of subtlety or complexity, right? It's just sometimes it requires multiple sentences and this sort of thing. I'm sure I've mentioned before in other videos or maybe on live stream or whatever that I think that insecurity about the clarity of language is one of the things that drew me to mathematics when I studied that at university, because math, there's particular words that we use as far as vocabulary and the like, but ultimately it gets to that those things are pointing to symbols, and we're trying to use these symbols that it seems that we all know what we mean because it's really kind of nailed down as to what those little symbols mean in a pretty precise manner. That's kind of the point of it. And so there's this kind of comfort in understanding something that is, beautiful. Those of us who kind of get into math in that way tend to find beauty in it. And part of the beauty is, in fact, the clarity of, there are things that you can't say with mathematics, right? So it's, so it's not like some perfect linguistic tool or something like that, but it is a thing that lets us talk about certain aspects of, the stuff we observe in a pretty precise manner, right? That's, I don't know, that's, I hope that makes sense, but it's like I tend to have a little, I don't know, it's one of those things that, it grinds my gears, that kind of thing, is when people talk about what laws of physics or something like that, or, to do with sciences, and it's like, I just linguistically don't like the choice of words law, right? Because they're not a thing that has to be obeyed, really, right? They're descriptions, mathematical descriptions of observed phenomenon, right? We try to observe these phenomenon, you make theories about them, and you keep observing them, and you try to describe them, and the way you describe them in a precise manner so that everybody knows and you knew what you were talking about when you said, oh, this was going to happen. If you assume this, then that happens, and this happens, and hey, look, we came up with some idea. If that stuff happens consistently enough and you can describe it precisely enough so that people can keep building on this knowledge and it goes forward, and people keep gaining insight, those descriptions use math as the means of making those descriptions in a precise manner. But that's the thing, right? They're descriptions. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, because then when you come across reliable observations that seem at odds with what your little equation says, but you keep seeing, it's like, well, if we observe that, then that means we're wrong over here. It's like, well, then you better go check that, because if it's observed, then you got to tinker with your equations, man. Don't get dogmatic about the equation so that you ignore some observable thing over there, right? I don't know. I don't know if I didn't get too worked up to pull anybody out of their relaxation, but yeah, it's one of those things. It's like science has to remember that the thing I like to say is that the model is always broken, right? And I say that in a way because it kind of gets people, what do you mean it's broken? You know, it's like, because it's never going to be finished, man. Science isn't, you don't get an answer at the end and get a gold star, right? It's an ongoing process that is us, which is our dynamic beings, observing and trying to understand the dynamic system that is the universe, right? I don't see that ever stopping the fact that it changes and does things, and I just don't see how it's not a thing that you finish. It's a thing that you do for the purpose. It's its own thing. Certainly it helps you gain insight, and certainly it can help that insight can help you do things like make better houses and grow better crops and the like. But sometimes it's just because it's beautiful or it's interesting, or it can be for its own sake. Getting that kind of goes back to the thing I was saying about there's the beauty in mathematics, right? It has its own structure, kind of reveals its own sort of beauty that kind of makes sense with when you're looking at the world. I don't remember who it is, but there's I think more than one person has said something about how that math is unreasonably effective at describing our universe, or the idea being that our universe is unreasonably similar to the mathematical things that we come up with, right? That there's what's going on here, but that whatever it is, whether there's a cause or an effect involved there or not, or whether it's just a structural thing to be observed, there is beauty in noises I might keep in, because if they're not too, like I said before, if they're not too super intrusive, maybe I'll just leave them in and they'll just be part of the ambiance of what's happening, as opposed to intrusive banging and stuff like that, clomping around. And so what was I talking about? Science is never finished, right? Something like talking about, criticizing science for the, don't be so hung up on it, man. Be open-minded so that when you see something, and now don't jump on things nilly, you know what I mean? Have a critical mind, but be open to the idea that the thing is going to need to evolve and change as time goes forward. Another thing is don't name stuff after people. I know we get into this whole naming stuff after people because of this whole immortality thing, but the thing that you're making immortal isn't the person, it's some weird caricature of the person, right? It's never going to be the complexity of that human, right? It's like, I don't know, it just seems, to me it seems like a disservice to people to have that done to them, but I get it, people get heroes and they want to make, monuments to them, and whatever, they're not going to listen to me stop doing that anytime soon, so. But when it comes to stuff like mathematical, formula or properties or, principles, don't name them after people. Name them something that makes sense, Like, I don't remember specifically all the details of it, but there's a thing that was in calculus that's the mean value theorem. And so, like I said, I can't remember specifically what it is, but, and I'm not going to sit here and try to remember. But you're going to know that it has something to do with the mean value, though, right? You know what I mean? So if you're doing something, it had to do with integrals, I think, if I remember. But anyway, But see, that's a more useful name, because at least it kind of gives you the ballpark of what it is you're trying to talk about, rather than, naming it after some person because, they were famous and they had something to do in the development of it. Or, because, man, when you're talking about development of math and science, there's so much that went into it before the person whose paper you're reading now. You know what I mean? It took so much stuff to get them to the place to be able to do that stuff. In that, you know what I mean? Yeah, anyway. The whole thing is moving forward by a lot of effort by a lot of people. And I think it's important to kind of remember that. But anyway, there's more utility in naming stuff after stuff that makes sense rather than just naming it after some human. Yeah, if you need to make a statue for him and put it out in the quad or, whatever. But, yeah, theorems and principles and stuff like that should be named for something that makes sense. That's my vote anyway. Yeah, this is all kind of odd, right? It came from talking about language and no language in our lungs off of a XTC album, right? I don't know, is there something else I want to talk about in the criticizing of the modeling of the natural world? Oh, I'm sure there's something I'll come up with at some point, but nothing is fresh in my mind now to drive me to babble on about it in any sort of energy or... So maybe I'll just let that one go. I don't know, hopefully those will be noises that are sufficiently mild as to be incorporated in as sort of the ambiance. And it seems like most of the noises, it sounds like, I think part of it is somebody's taking a shower upstairs, because it's how it sounds like when water runs through pipes and walls, has its own sort of sound to it. But it is also raining outside, so, and that kind of goes along with the sound of the water in the pipes and the wall. Although, water inside of the pipes, inside of the wall, and then water not inside of the pipes, not inside of the wall, not even inside the house. At least, hopefully not in the house, right? Don't want the rain in my house, man. The rain's fine, just keep it outside of my specific living area. Well, and the rest of the living area is in the house, right? So, don't want to have to wade through water to get to the bathroom or the kitchen or any of that. So, water in the pipes, water outside. There you go. There's a good policy to live by. Oh man, you can tell I should have taken a nap this afternoon, right? Because going off on tangents like that is... What? It's okay, man. Oh, and there goes my fridge clicking on. Hopefully that's not too loud to be annoying. But again, that's part of the ambiance of the ASMR club bill, like Shea Bill, right? Now what would be, I don't know French for William, right? Like in German they say it's Wilhelm. I think in Spanish it's Guillermo, something like that. So I don't know what it would be in French. Guillaume, maybe, or something. That just popped into my head. I've heard somebody say something. That only popped into my head, I think, because it sounds similar to Guillermo in a weird way. But anyway, the ASMR Club, Shea Bill. Everybody has to wear berets and... well, back in the day, you would have been having coffee and clove cigarettes and the like, but, no more the smoking of cigarettes anymore, right? It is too unhealthy. I think there's noises outside. I thought maybe part of it might have been thunder in the distance, but it might just be stuff like trucks and planes and the like in the distance as well. But I don't know. Somehow it seems more interesting or exciting if it's rolling thunder off in the distance rather than just some big truck making some delivery to some shop down the road. Thunder is more ginormous and dynamic, Sturm and Drang, right? The whole intensity of the world of nature, right? That whole romanticism thing, like not Hearts and Flowers, but like Beethoven romantic, Like, what's the guy that hung out with Shelley and Percy Shelley too? The Lord Byron guy, that's the guy. I can't think of, Lord Byron, that's the guy I'm thinking of. He's one of those big romantic era poets, right? I don't know any of his stuff by heart, so I can't quote it, but take my word for it, I remember that he was said to be one of those romantic poets. And never take my word for anything, man. Always double check it. Even if I think I know what I'm saying, man, my brain might be off and wrong, mistaken, in error. As all human brains, we are prone to. If you honestly make an error, learn from the fact that you made the error, but then be done with it, right? That's the thing I struggle with, but it's better for me when I can successfully deal with it and go, okay, I made the mistake. It's okay to feel bad for having made the mistake, but now it's time to, I feel like I've learned the thing. It's time to move on. Let's, try not to, beat ourselves up with any of that kind of stuff. I guess it's a recurring thing, right? Last time I did any sort of length of babble, I ended up in that whole topic of self-care, right? I think it's a thing that's a real issue, though, right? It comes up in new stuff. Our cultures, too many people are way too stress-driven. There's too much of a stigma against, people looking to deal with self-care, especially around anything to do with, mental health or emotional well-being or any other. To need assistance in any of those arenas is to basically admit to weakness, right? And I think that's not the way to look at it. That's the most effective for us as a people. Okay, it seems like maybe that's back down to that mildly rumbly sort of, maybe not rumbly, but hopefully not too intrusive with the noises from upstairs. I think I'm going to try to cut this short because it's getting to be more and more difficult for me to find stretches of time to. But what was the thought that I was? That it's better for us humans, I think, anyway, if we could stop getting down on each other about trying to find help and support in emotional and psychological and mental, well-being ways, right? We should be supportive of each other. It'll be better for us too, right? Because then when we have need, if we've cultivated a culture of support and kindness in that regard, then, when we offer it to others, if that's the culture, then when we have need, we'll receive it back, right? That's kind of if we all kind of help take care of each other, then it's easier for all of us to do a little bit in that regard, rather than stick just a few people with a lot of crummy things. Then, we could spread it out and make it consistent, and, that's the hope anyway, right? To spread compassion, right? There you go. There's that underlying message that, I'll probably throw in a lot. Spread compassion. Get compassion in your life. Get gratitude in your life. These are good things. Maybe I'll make more specific videos of how to approach those ideas or not. I don't know. Yeah, it's probably a good idea at some point. But I think I'm going to go ahead and end this while the well, I can actually just say goodbye and whatever that I'm, going to babble on. I don't know. There's nothing really coming to mind, so I think now is a good time to stop, and I'll see if I can edit something to hopefully more than 20 minutes, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, aloha, siblings.